Well, I want to remind people what's coming up over the next, I'd say 20 years. Frozen death is coming for the winters, especially in the Northeast United States and the Midwest. I'm not sure about the extreme south of the United States. Might not reach that far. Probably some extra frost that'll kill orange groves and that type of thing. But mainly in the Northeast and the Midwest, a lot of the crop production is going to get severely affected. And we're seeing a lot of tensions here in the summertime with orchestrated events by people like George Soros, who are pushing protests and tensions to bring about gun control, for instance. That's one of the agendas. And you also see Hillary Clinton. She's trying to get out of the news because she's, you know, not been indicted, but she should have been indicted because the FBI director did outlined every reason she should have been indicted 20 times over, but didn't do it. But what's really coming up is survival. And survival is going to be mainly the focus of every individual here in the United States due to the upcoming mini ice age. Now, we have not gotten into it really yet. You've been noticing over the last, I'd say, since about 2006 or 7, it's been getting quite a bit colder in most years. We've been having a lot of record blizzards. Last year was not that cold actually in the Northeast. This guy thought so though. But it's just some file photo. I don't know who the hell this is. It's just a file photo. But the thing is, last year we did have that one record blizzard. But aside from that, it wasn't particularly that cold. That was because of El Nino, right? But now we got La Nina coming in, and it's going to be a drastic change for 2016, 17, 18. The winter of 2016 to 17, then 17 to 18, 18 to 19, and 19 to 20. And that's going to be like there's 11-year cycles within the major cycle of 410 years of the mini ice age, right? There's mini ice ages of different strengths. We're probably going into a stronger mini ice age. We're just at the very beginning of it, actually. You've been noticing, actually, really, reality is, you noticing like even 2008, we had some really wild storms in 2009, 10, also in the UK, in France, also in Germany. Then, it would let up a year, and you're thinking, well, it's just, and some people are saying, well, that's because of global warming, and climate change happens. And actually, the reality situation is when there is a mini ice age or even a major ice age, it gets warmer in Alaska. Now you think, how the hell can that be? Well, that's just how it is. Most of the Earth gets colder, but the regionalized areas that get much, much, much colder are not really mainly in Alaska. That's Alaska. As a matter of fact, the glaciers in Alaska were formed since the last major ice age. Those glaciers are younger glaciers. So those glaciers in Alaska will retreat, and the major media will say, "Well, see, that's proof that the glaciers in Alaska are melting, and that means we're getting warmer." Well, yeah, warmer over there, but overall we'll be getting colder. Now I don't know if we're going into a major ice age. I don't know about that deal because that would be totally unpredictable. But I have to tell you that all these social tensions that are around right now here in the summer, being perpetrated by George Soros, for instance, and Hillary Clinton, and Loretta Lynch, and freaking Obama, are going to go by the wayside this wintertime when food prices start to seriously escalate. And, that's due to, shorter growing season. Frosts coming quicker. When frosts come quicker, crops are destroyed or they're going to be harvested much earlier, and they're not at the full abundance of what they could have been if things stayed warmer longer. I don't know how drastically it's going to affect this. You're not going to see snow like this down here in South Georgia, South Alabama, South Texas, and Florida. But you might see a little snow. You might see a little bit. I don't know. That'd be interesting. But it's going to be kind of interesting. Remember like Obama last year when he had the last winter when he had the what the hell was that? That I think it was the first time there was over 2 feet of snow in Baltimore and New York City. But the winter overall wasn't actually that cold. But snow-wise, because that was an El Nino, that was a hell of a blizzard they had in the northeast last year. I don't even know if they skewed some of the numbers, but I know like on the south in Jersey, New Jersey, and on the coast, there was certain areas that actually got over 3 feet of snow because of the feeder bands coming in from the ocean. Actual 3 feet plus, not drifts, actual snowfall. That's a hell of a lot for freaking South Jersey and the coast. That was an absolute all-time record. And I remember Obama came in off his plane, greeted by the blizzard, and his limousine was sliding curb to curb while he's driving to the White House. You know, have another global warming meeting, buddy. Oh God. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people are going to be freaking worried about survival. Like, now this is a crop failure file photo of drought, but it's not going to be drought. It's going to be due to um, quicker freezes coming, later thaws coming in the springtime, and that's going to lead to, well, it's shorter growing seasons. Shorter growing seasons mean less crops, which means less supply, same demand, prices go up, right? And this is really what's going to cause social tension, whereby the government's not going to be able to control the people. And the problem is this time, with all the stuff that's going on with our debt situation, and what do you call it? 19 trillion plus, 19.3 trillion as we speak right now in July of 2016, 19.3 trillion debt. And I know there's probably 80 trillion in debt with the unfunded liabilities. But the thing is, the people got over in other countries when the government defaulted on a debt because they knew how to grow crops. Today, everybody's a damn city dweller. It's not like in the 1930s, or it's not like in the 1990s in Russia, where people know how to grow stuff and raise chickens or whatever the hell it is and fish and do all that stuff. They don't know how to do that stuff today. People all live in the cities, and it's just-in-time delivery for food. And yeah, it probably will be available at a price, but it's going to be out of the reach of people, whereby people are going to, well, let me put it this way. If people are spending more money on food, and it's a greater percentage of their net disposable income, or say that's greater part of their income that they have to spend on food, there's going to be that much less money left over to spend in other areas, which is going to affect the entire domestic economy. I see how it snowballs. Like if your gasoline and your energy bills in your house and your food was all free, you'd have all this extra money, whatever you want to call it. You'd have all this money to spend on stuff, right? Different things. But if all your money is going into food because of a greatly shortened growing season, well, that's going to cause a lot less economic output in sales at the retail level, the services sector level, the manufacturing level, domestically in the United States, and even of imported products coming to the United States. And that's going to affect how much is going into the tax coffers, because that'll affect the sales tax, it'll affect the income tax, because people won't be making money. They'll have net operating loss carried forward on their balance sheets and stuff. They won't be paying in income taxes because they won't have any income. They'll be going bare bones in the businesses because people won't have enough money to spend, because they're spending too much on food because of the mini ice age coming. Now you want to say, yeah, I'm so full of it. We'll find out. We'll find out. Actually, this year coming up is like it's going to be more obvious. Last year was not a great example. It was globally last year. We've had a lot of indications that the major mini ice age. How's that? The big a strong mini ice age is on its way. It was the first time they had snow, cumulative snow in Naha, Okinawa, Japan. The first time they had snow in Kuwait. The first time they had like a foot of snow, I think it was a couple hundred miles south of Hanoi in Vietnam, a foot. I mean, it's like freaking outrageous. That's what happened last winter. Now, in the United States, we had El Nino going, so it wasn't extremely cold. Actually, they had some pretty good snows out west in Colorado, California. I mean, more than in Colorado, right? In Colorado, not California, Colorado, Denver area. I know it snows a lot there normally, but they had some really pretty strong, extraordinary snow events there, like also in Utah. There was one really big snow event in the Northeast, which was that big 2-foot snowstorm. That was 2 feet. First time they had 2 feet in Baltimore and New York. But overall, the winter in the Northeast wasn't really cold. It was just a freaky snowstorm. But that was because of El Nino. El Nino started out the winter very warm, an extraordinarily warm December. And this year it's going to be totally different. We're actually going to be getting into a time where let's put it this way: there's going to be shorter growing season. There's going to be faster, a frost coming in quicker. Crops are going to have to be harvested faster, or there's going to be loss of crops. The thawing of the spring from in 2017 is going to take a lot longer. You're going to have problems there. So, all this stuff that you're seeing right now with all this stuff going on with Sir George Soros and, all this hate he's pushing through various organizations he funds and all the disinformation that's going on and the false flags and the Hegelian concept being perpetrated by Soros and his puppet Obama and Loretta Lynch and whatever else and Hilda Beast. It's going out the door. It's going out the door by this winter. I don't really think these guys got it figured out. Like, I know they're pushing the global warming and a carbon tax because they're thinking, well, we got to tax the output of carbon because CO2 drives climate, which is not really the case. It's like climate drives CO2. But even so, if it's going to get a hell of a lot colder, which it is, it's definitely going to get a lot colder over the next, there's 11-year cycles within, there's mini cycles within the mini ice age. The mini ice ages are, I think, every 208 years, but then every other one is like a stronger one. So we're in the next stronger one. It's going to be stronger than the one that was in like 1615s, around that area, which we have not really experienced as a European settled population in the United States. The only people that would have known about this really in detail would have been the American native peoples that lived here, but there's no real seriously recorded events of what happened back then. But there are some hints because the Seminole American natives or something, I think in the 1600s, they said that Lake Okeechobee in Florida was frozen over in the wintertime, and I think it was in the 1600s. And, that never freezes over. That's in South Florida. I don't know if it's going to get that crazy, but maybe it will. I don't know. If that happens, I got my snow tires ready here for Florida. We'll have you in a video on driving in snow in Florida. Oh, you'll probably see loads of videos. If it snows in Florida like a lot, you're going to probably see like 12,000 videos on YouTube with people driving in snow in Florida and making snowmen and having snow fights and making snow forts and snow tunnels. I don't know if it's going to get that crazy, but probably not till like 2025 or 2030s or something, because this next cycle is there's like an 11-year cycle within the bigger cycle that's hundreds of years long. The next bottom of the next 11-year cycle is going to be the bottom of the 11-year cycle is going to be like 2020. Then after that, or 2021. Then after that, it's going to be in the 2030s. Now nobody's really sure when the absolute middle of the next mini ice age is going to be. They estimate sometime in the 2030s. Some people estimate in the 2060s or 2090s. God, man, that'd be freaking. Actually, the reality situation is, by the time we get into the middle of the next mini ice age, New York City is going to look more like Montreal or something like that, and Atlanta is going to look more like Baltimore as far as weather, and probably Jacksonville, Florida is going to look more like Atlanta. So we shall see, man. We shall see. But you're going to start seeing it this winter, and we might get slightly warmer in some of the after 2020, and then it's going to go slightly, very slightly, then it's going to go much colder again into the 2030s, but that's a long ways off. But you're going to see this next 11-year cycle play out within the major mini ice age cycle, where the next 11-year cycle is going to bottom out in around 2021 or 2020. And watch the data on the sunspots. If they don't count any sunspots, that's usually how the Farmer's Almanac. It's not the Farmer's Almanac only. It actually goes all the way back to the Middle Ages. The astronomers used to count the sunspots, and when they saw no sunspots, they knew this back 500 years ago. When they saw no sunspots, that meant there was a short growing season. And things just work like clockwork, that's just how it is. So I think like the best laid plans of the elite, like we're looking at the White House here, the Hegelian concept headquarters, trying to ferment all kinds of change through radical groups and things like that, and hate. Well, everybody's gonna be too freaking frozen inside, worried about how to pay for the next meal and how to heat their house. There's not gonna be people running out in the streets protesting. I can tell you that right now. It's gonna be too damn cold for a good portion of the year. And so after the summer's over in the next couple months, things are gonna calm down greatly. And maybe it's not gonna calm down in September per se, but watch, the weather's going to be getting cold pretty quick. By the time November rolls around, the areas in the Northeast are going to get pretty damn cold, and you might be starting to see snows then. Well, especially up further up north, but far more than the usual, you know, type of snows that people are used to. Pretty much figured that the entire weather that the way things are in the Northeast, it's going to move like about 150 miles in latitude downward. So whatever weather is 150 miles north of you, like if you're especially if you're in the Northeast or Central America, now it's not going to really in Central United States. It's not going to really be this way in California though. California's going to be an exception because of the Pacific Ocean, but and that's exactly how things even worked during the last mini ice age and also the big major ice ages. But what's going to happen in most of the country from the central United States all the way to the eastern United States, figure what the weather is 150 miles north of you, that's about where it's going to go to by the time we get into the middle of this next mini ice age, and you're going to see a good portion of that happen even over the next few years because we're in the middle of a mini cycle within the mini ice age. So, all this social tension stuff, you're gonna have a hard time. And it's actually I think the elitists are always freaking screw up, man. The domino theory, what do you call it? The karma's a bitch. It's like watch what you set into motion. It can always come and bite you in the ass. Well, that's exactly what's gonna happen with them too. So, anyway, stay cool, stay chill. Actually, me myself, even though it's summertime, it's hot as hell right now. It's probably 98 degrees and humid out. I'm already prepared with diesel fuel and two kerosene heaters that run diesel fuel because they have 100% cotton wicks. I got the old Perfection 1500 oil kerosene heater, and I'm all set for this stuff. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Yeah, because summer, we're in the middle. We're not even in the middle of the summer, but I keep an eye out for the future. Kind of like the wintertime in some ways. I kind of like the summertime too, but I'm realizing the summertime is so warm that it also is a good time to have everybody get out there and protest. Well, let's wait till it gets too cold to protest. That'll be the end of that shit. And everybody's worried about, the high cost of food and things like that, right? Actually, these people that are protesting right now, they should be growing a garden and growing that garden and canning that food or whatever, freeze drying it or whatever the hell it is, because they're going to be needing it this winter time when the prices of food go way the hell up. Me, myself, and I am actually going to get some Del Monte huge cans of freaking fruit cocktail. Those big giant cans, they're pretty damn good. The little cans suck. The big giant cans, for some reason, they seem to taste, have that can taste in them. I actually mentioned that in another video. And I'm going to be doing some more gun videos, even though I think they're being very unpopular by the powers that be on YouTube. But I'm actually going to put a different twist on a lot of them, and not their typical type of self-defense gun videos, because if you're starving in the wintertime, you might be able to go hunting or something and get something, you know what I mean? And it's going to go right back to the colonial days again. If you got a fire, you can make a fire, you can get some game, and, well, you'll be all right, especially if it's some large game. And you're not going to need a refrigerator to store the meat because there's plenty of ice pack out there, right? Go back to the old school. Sounds almost crazy right now, right? Because it's hot. I know it's hot. It's cool. It's nice and cool with the air conditioning on right now, but it's hot as hell outside. And But me, I pretty much think outside the box. I actually think forward thinking. Um, but it's like I actually think about 3 steps ahead of these jerks in the White House, and these people are pulling all these freaking little charades. And if you listen to my channel, I'm gonna tell you simple stuff to freaking save you some bucks. I'm gonna tell you stuff to save you some dollars. I'm not gonna just get on with political stuff or anything like that. But actually, my political stuff is actually designed not to, um, make you feel bad. It's designed to almost cheer you up maybe a little bit, and fight them. Because I'm not somebody like push the fear button because that's one reason I don't subscribe to Alex Jones or anything. He's a fearmonger. I'm really more of a positive attitude person, but yeah, I'm not afraid to tell you the absolute truth on things, and that's just how it is. I mean, I don't know if YouTube's going to agree with that or not, but I'm trying to do something that's integrity plus here versus the standard garbage that goes on sometimes in YouTube, even by the alternative media. They're always trying to scare people. Because I even look at Rents and stuff. I can tell you right now, Rents. I was looking at some of his stuff on here. It's like constant stories about what the cops do wrong and what's going on, and I'm like, holy shit, man. You know, um, I'd say it's, in my opinion, I don't know. It's probably like a 10 or 15% of the police are not too cool, and maybe most are good. That's my opinion. I'm not 100%, but that's one of the games that's even going on in the alternative media. They're freaking trying to set everybody against the authorities, and we the people just stand on our own 2 feet. And I can tell you right now, we're gonna freaking wind up winning this thing out pretty good because the people that win it out aren't going to be the ones sitting on their ass. They're going to be the ones growing their food, and doing things outside that need to be done versus just talking about it. So anyway, over and out. Just want to bring this out here in the middle of summertime. White death is coming. Ice. And actually, when you watch this video, if you feel pretty hot, psychologically, it'll make you feel cooler, right? How's that? It's like watching this video with ice cubes is going to make you feel psychologically like you just turned the air conditioning down another 10 degrees, right? Did this not cool you off or what? I think so.